Welcome to Murder and Everything Else. My name is Joy.
And my name is Cheryl. Joy and I are two very old friends who love to talk about murder and everything else. So, should we tell the peeps out there that we're gonna get tattoos?
Ooh, yeah, we're gonna get hers and hers tattoos, guys,
for our podcast. Anybody want to join us in getting a?
Yeah.
So our logo has a yin yang symbol in it, and we're gonna. Am I the yin or am I the yang?
You're the shamalama ding dong.
Anyway, there's
a story behind that, by the way.
And then for any true fans out there, I expect you to get one too.
That's right. Any super fans want to meet us and get a tattoo? Let us know.
Doreen,
Francoise,
Gabe,
if you're still listening. I know where he lives. I just don't know if he's still listening. Since apparently I made up a story about the Jaws movie. Anyway, I have a kind of a half retraction today, and that is,
of course,
last week Cheryl talked about how hot Ricky Martin was. You said he was in his 40s. Guess how old Ricky Martin is?
50s. I said 50s.
No, you said 40s.
I did not. Go back and listen to it. I said go back 55.
54.
I said 50s, and then I said he's the same age.
On top of a retraction. I'm retracting last week, and Cheryl's retracting me in real time.
That's right.
This is the retractorary period.
Man.
Anywho, any retractions from the peanut gallery over there? The Penisu gallery?
The Penisu? No, not today. Not today, Satan.
What's happening?
I'm tired.
Cheryl's
you guys,
punchy.
When I get tired, I laugh at nothing. And I just want to sleep.
And it's a long day today because you know what she's got after this? She got mahjong.
Packing boxes and playing games with friends.
That's right. Everybody listening to this, you should invite some friends over and play games, all right?
You should know that all I want to do is chicken it.
All I want to do is have some fun. Guys, we are in No Spend March now. If you're listening to this when it drops, I am doing...
No, not
I'm kind of hoping to influence you for a no spend April.
I don't have a problem. You guys.
Oh my God.
Listen.
God.
I buy necessary things like soap and lotion.
Take the wheel. Anyway, I am in No Spend March. If you're listening to this when it drops, we're halfway through the month as you're listening to this, which means I'm still alive. I'm still breathing. I don't have hives. And I am 2 weeks away from Spend Away April.
That's because she spent all night last night, the last day of February. She bought a ton of stuff. Because she can technically say she didn't buy it in March, but she's going to receive it in March.
Whatevs. Anyway, the last part of my update, I'm just going to say, we don't do this a lot, Cheryl and I. So I'm just going to go out there and say this, okay? And Cheryl's backing me on this. But we are asking all of our listeners, if you listen to us regularly, if you have stumbled on this for the first time, if you like what you hear, please go to Spotify or whatever platform you listen to us on, whether it's YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Listen Notes, Podbean, PodMe, and Audible, and leave us a review. And it's a way to pick up new subscribers for us. We are currently being listened to in 40 countries. So, hey, we don't care if you leave us a review in a language that we don't speak. We have Google Translate. And we don't really care if you leave us a comment like Elena did that we talk too much, because this is indeed a podcast. So we could talk all we want. Right?
It's our podcast.
Exactamundo. So
please write in and tell us how much you love us.
Right. Leave us a review, guys. Give us some stars. If there's a star process, give us a little shout out, give us a little review. We might even read it on an episode.
You know what I would like to know? Like, when do they listen to us? Are you doing the dishes? Are you
Cheryl,
dusting?
let's not overload the listener.
Are you driving in the car?
Let's not overload the
Everybody
listener.
has a favorite time to listen to a podcast. Mine is when I'm driving.
Well, I happen to know that Francoise has listened to us in French Polynesia, on the island of Marais. She's listened to us in France. She's listened to us in Germany.
Wow.
Like, Francoise, she's listened to us in California. She is a super, super fan.
So she's going to get a tattoo for sure.
Yeah. Francoise, let me know if you want to get that tattoo. Cheryl, you got any updates for our listeners?
I do. It's not... Everybody knows it, but, Savannah Guthrie, they have increased the reward to $1 million now.
Oh, God.
For any information on her mom.
But
Nancy
hopefully there'll be
Guthrie.
information by the time people are listening to this.
Yeah.
Because it drops on the 15th.
Well.
Oh, my God. Anywho.
Hopefully.
I don't know. Anyway, is that it for your update?
Yeah. Why? You got a problem with that? When have we ever been timely?
Yeah, right. Rolling on to shout outs. I'm being very time conscious today. We're rolling on to shout outs. Guys, I have a huge shout out for my husband. We've talked about this a little bit in the past on previous episodes, but we've been house hunting. We're looking for, in a time when people are downsizing because they're empty nesters, we surprisingly enough are looking to get a bigger house. Right. So it involves obviously moving. So I have a huge shout out for my husband. He is just a grinder. Like, he just gets in there and gets it done. He has done a ton of the repairs that we need to do on our house to sell. He
built your second floor.
Yeah, he's also gone head to toe with the air conditioning company who tried to extort us. He has
stood his Leo ground.
Yeah,
just because he's a Leo.
And also he is packing. He is organizing.
Wait.
He had this organizational process so that the boxes get labeled properly. I'm so who does that?
I'm glad you went on to say that he's packing boxes, because he's packing means that he's
packing. He's leaving.
No, he's carrying a gun. Isn't that
right?
I don't know. In North Carolina, it seems like it's wild east.
Wild east. That's right. And then the other thing I just want to shout out really quickly, for those of you who have reached out with confessions, remember we teased the idea that we're going to do an episode on confessions, secret confessions, or things that you want to confess or get off your chest that you never have. We have received confessions. Please send us your confessions. You can go to Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok, or you can email us at murderandeverythingelse@gmail.com. Send us those confessions, because we are going to read them.
We are going to read them, but we're going to keep you anonymous.
Anonymous. Cheryl, what about you?
My shout out?
Mm-hmm.
My shout out is to Dansko. You saw those cute clog sandals I got.
They're so cute, but not really sandals.
Well, it has a strap in the back.
Cheryl has, okay.
Here we go.
She has the tiniest
No,
feet.
I do not.
She's like those women who they used to bound up their feet, and then they would couldn't run away from their husbands.
Listen, I managed to run away from 2, so my
snap!
No, listen, Dansko, although I'd have to say, if you guys want to buy Dansko shoes, they're like a half size too big. So I have to go small. Yeah, I'm a 6.5, so I should be in the 6.5 to 7 category. Huge. So I had to go down to the 5 to 6.5. But anyway, I want to give a shout.
I don't know how she stands up on these things. Her feet are so small. It's like, how do you support your body on those things? It's like, it's ridiculous.
No, my feet are not that small, you guys. They're average. 6.5 is very average.
Wide feet.
Thank you for. That's how I stand up. It's like a duck.
Hobbit.
Webbed feet.
Hobbit, guys. If you haven't Googled Hobbit feet.
Anyway, can I finish with my shout out? If you guys need good arch support, then get a Dansko. Of course, it's not like the shoes that Joy wears. It's very cute, but so uncomfortable. And she takes her life in her hands every time she wears it because she could break her neck. But anyway.
It's true. It's so true, but I'm not the only person who does that, by the way. I know lots of people. Okay, I know a dwindling number of people who will still wear high shoes.
You'll get to an age where you're like, I gotta have comfort.
I wore 2-inch little sandals to the wedding we went to in last August, and I wore them from 3:30ish until probably midnight. Maybe 10:30. I could barely walk the next day, and that was a 2-inch sandal that my foot slid into. They were very comfortable. And
when they were just at 3:30, they were comfortable,
and they were
and
comfortable
every hour
even at 5. But by 6:30, I tried to take them off on the dance floor and dance barefooted. But someone almost took my toes off with their stilettos, so I had to put them back on.
For safety reasons, yes.
Anyhow,
you know how dangerous it can get on the dance floor.
She's right. There are days where I literally feel like my back is breaking and I remember what I wore the day before. So there is a little price that's paid there, but you know what? I'm still paying it. So
you'll get to an age. You'll get there.
Whatevs. Anywho, guys, this week, Cheryl is in the driver's seat and she's bringing us some local yokels. So buckle up.
Hey, I thought we should talk about some local murders. Now, this is not new news, but you know, I always it doesn't matter if it's new or old. I like to get your take on it.
Cheryl likes new and old.
I do.
That doesn't just apply to news.
No, it applies to everything. Okay, so we're going to talk about one of the North Carolina mass shootings. I'm sure you've had more than one. Wasn't there one at the mall or shopping center the other day? I haven't looked into it.
The other day?
Yes, didn't you say there was
I feel like it was a couple years ago, and it was like...
No. Last week, you said, did you hear?
Yeah. You're right. It was like, I think Town Center or something like that. That was some crazy shit.
How many people... What happened? I don't
know, but that's apparently not the episode we're focusing on.
We're not focusing on that. So we're focusing on a story that you have probably heard because it was nationwide news. My sources are WUNC News, The News and Observer, NBC News, and WRAL News. So October 13, 2022 started off like any other day in the community of Hedingham, a neighborhood in Raleigh, North Carolina. Is it Hedingham or Heatingham? You should know.
I think it's Hedingham, but I don't know. There's so many neighborhoods.
You should know. You live in North Carolina for 14 years.
I should.
It would end in mayhem and murder, forever changing the lives of those directly affected by the tragedy. Before Alan Thompson headed to the grocery store on that afternoon, he called his 2 sons to see if they needed anything. James, 16, didn't answer, which irritated his father, but Austin, 15, picked up and told his dad they didn't need anything. About 30 minutes later, Alan saw patrol cars racing toward their neighborhood. He called Austin again and told the boys to hunker down at the house. Austin replied to his father, "Okay." The first crime scene unfolded at the Thompson family's longtime home on Sahali Way, where the couple's 2 little boys had grown from blonde-headed toddlers to honor-roll teenagers. It was a time of transition. The parents had told their sons they were separating. They were good boys, their mother Elise insisted during her time on the stand. Self-sufficient. Unlike many teens, they woke up on their own in the morning, Elise said, and James was the outgoing one, his mother said. Austin took longer to warm up to new people. Austin and James usually stepped off the school bus around 3:10 p.m. and walked home together. The boys took turns playing Call of Duty on the gaming system set up in the middle of the Thompsons' living room. They'd sink into the high-back gaming chair, passing the controller back and forth. Austin often wore headphones, talking to players across the world, which impressed his parents. At 4:20 p.m., about the same time Austin spoke to his father about groceries, James was playing in the gaming chair. Austin then lifted a rifle to the back of his brother's head and fired.
Oh my God.
James either stumbled or was dragged into the bathroom, where Austin stabbed James 57 times in the neck. Keep in mind that was his brother. Raleigh police reconstructed Austin's path of destruction after killing James by using data from Austin's iPhone 11, Ring camera footage, and Google Earth. I can't tell you how many crimes have been solved, or at least crucial evidence was, gathered from the Ring camera footage.
Well, look at
it's
Savannah
incredible.
Guthrie's mother, Nancy Guthrie. I mean, that is a key component to them finding more information about this case.
So they reconstructed it using his phone, camera footage, and Google Earth. At 5:08 p.m., around the time of the second phone call from Alan, Austin left his home wearing camouflage, running down the neighborhood street with a long gun like he was advancing on enemy ground. Austin spotted Nicole Connors and Lynn Gardner as they were walking their dogs. Austin fired 5 shots, killing Nicole and her dog while fracturing Lynn's face. Austin then jogged up to Raleigh police officer Gabriel Torres's car. Officer Torres was in his car, in his garage, getting ready to leave for work. Austin killed him by shooting through his windshield. Austin then ran onto the greenway. Mary Marshall was killed while trying to grab her dog after it had gotten loose. And not far from where Mary Marshall was killed was the body of Susan Carnetz, who had been out on her daily jog.
Good Lord.
As Austin walked through the neighborhood that Thursday in October, killing innocent bystanders, his parents were walking through their ordinary day. Elise usually got home around 5 p.m., but on the day of this shooting, she had a 6 p.m. hair appointment. Her stylist was coloring her hair when the television brought word of a shooter moving through Hedingham. Elise called and texted James and Austin around 6:15 p.m. Neither answered. She called Alan, who was trying to fix a flat tire that he had discovered leaving the grocery store. Alan had spoken to Austin twice, but was having trouble reaching him again. Since the father couldn't get the boys to answer the phone, he called a neighbor to check on them, and then he called 911 to ask police for a wellness check when the neighbor said no one came to the door.
Oh my God.
Alan said he wasn't concerned. Austin probably had his headphones on while playing games. After the tire was fixed, Alan went to a previously scheduled handyman job. Elise was first to arrive home. When Elise got there, a police car was in front of the house. She ran to the garage, but the door was locked, which was unusual. She hurried to the front porch, rang the doorbell before realizing the door was slightly open. Inside, she moved through the house, her head on a swivel, looking for her boys. And then she saw James's body on the floor of the master bathroom amid a gruesome scene. I mean, he was stabbed 57. He was shot in the back of the head. Stabbed 57 times. Can you imagine the amount of blood? So she bolted back outside screaming, "They killed him, they killed him." Now that I don't understand. I don't know.
Who killed him?
I don't know.
And who are they?
I never found that out.
I just want to jump in right here and say that I call bullshit on the dad not being concerned. Who calls in a wellness check for their 2 teenage sons? It makes me wonder if the boys were very combative and fought a lot.
Well, but he asked the neighbors first, and based on them saying no one answered, then he was like, but still, right? They're not like toddlers.
Yeah.
They're...
So I will say that, like, there have been plenty of times where I have tried, like, texted one of my kids when they were home. Like, remember, like, the kids were home for the pandemic, and that doesn't mean we didn't go to the grocery store and go out. Sometimes I would reach out and nobody would be answering because they'd be doing something else and they weren't glued to their phones. Mm-hmm. And I never once called in a wellness check for my kids.
You're
so
right.
I'm concerned by that reaction. I've also never had to text the neighbors and be like, "Can you check on my kids?"
Yeah.
Makes me wonder if maybe his kids were problematic.
Right.
And so he needed extra eyes and ears on them.
No, you're right. I mean, it would be, there would have to be quite a stretch of no communication, right? I mean, for maybe even overnight before you even, like, if you were away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's not like, I mean, as much as teens like to have their phone, they're not always glued to it. Also, Austin was known to play games with the headphones on. Well, and he did say that maybe he just thought. But yeah, then to send the police. Can you imagine your daughters, if you had called the police, they would have been like,
We have done that once.
What?
Yeah, so, but it wasn't at home. Oh, I'll tell that story on another day. But it's very interesting. She was mortified.
I bet.
Because they showed up at her dorm room at the door of her dorm.
You did tell me.
Ooh, and she was sound asleep. She was so embarrassed. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. So moments later, Elise went back inside to clean up and change clothes. A female officer followed her and insisted that she come back outside. The officer led the stunned mother to a rocking chair in the driveway where a detective waited.
Because that's where you put rocking chairs.
In the driveway.
In the driveway.
The detective told her Austin did this. He left a note. Elise couldn't comprehend his words, and after a panic attack struck, she was carried to a hospital in an ambulance.
Ooh, that must have been quite a panic attack. I've had panic attacks and never been transported to the hospital because of one. I will say that
because your kid killed 5 people.
No, but I've had one time I was in the bathroom and I had to take all my imagine if I'd had to go to the hospital, I'd been buck naked strapped down to a thing.
In Austin's rambling note, one of the things he said was, "The reason I did this is because I hate humans. They are destroying the planet and Earth." The note also said that he killed his brother James because he would get in the way. And then he also said that he loved his dad and didn't like his mother.
Remember Ed, what's his name? That
Kemper?
episode?
Oh, and Geen.
And how he had issues with his mother. What is it about young men and their mothers?
Well, if it's not one thing,
it's your mother.
The note also said, "I have no regrets. I'm not mental either. I was sane when I did this." As Alan drove home, a 911...
I feel like that note in itself is a cry for mental help services.
I feel like that
I'm not mental either. Nope, you actually are.
I don't feel like Austin woke up one day and suddenly became this,
Yeah.
As Alan drove home, a 911 dispatcher called him asking whether he had spoken to Austin. As Alan started to get upset, believing that the police ignored his previous requests for a wellness check, the dispatcher advised Alan to go home. Police cars blocked the road, so Alan parked his car and handed his house keys to an officer who approached him. Alan told police, "Check and see if my sons are being held hostage." Police would soon tell him that Elise had found James dead and she had to be taken to the hospital, and he was told Austin was missing. At the hospital, officers told Alan that they were in a standoff with Austin after they had cornered him in a barn. A police dog had eventually tracked Austin to a wooded area with 2 barn-like buildings when the police arrived at 6:45 p.m. Austin fired multiple times at them, injuring Officer Casey Clark. Clark was shot in the knee, and it was a career-ending injury.
God.
They told him Austin had shot himself with a rifle, blowing off part of his skull.
What?
Alan and Elise stayed the night at the hospital. For 3 weeks, they sat beside Austin, waiting to see if he would live and what his and their new reality would look like. Yeah, so I saw him in court. And it's remarkable that he looks as good as he does for having blown off part of his head. But you can see just a little indentation right here by his forehead, where it's by his hairline. Police found 11 guns in the Thompson home.
Were any of them secured? I mean, Cheryl, come on. 11 guns.
I know.
2 teenage boys. And obviously, mental health issues on board.
It's the same thing with
it's
Colin
the same
and Colt Gray
story every time. Next, you're going to tell me that they're all white. I know it sounds really, really dismissive and trite, but the fact of the matter is that this is it's a crisis with young white men and the disenfranchisement of their disconnection from society, their disconnection from reality, their anger and hostility at the world. I mean, it's like a mental pandemic amongst young white men.
I don't think I'm going to do a story on the Colt Gray and his father, Colin Gray. Colin Gray is on trial right now because he bought his son. It's the same story. Like you said, it's just like you could just change the names out. But Colt Gray had all these mental illness, anger issues, volatile. His father buys him a gun. He doesn't secure it. He puts it on top of this thing, and the prosecutor's like, but he could just stand up on something, right, and get it. Yes. Well, so he's on trial, but the mother, after she heard there was a shooting at his school and they found out it was their son, you guys, just so you know, not like I'm trying to help you commit a crime and get away with it, but all of your Google searches and everything can be retrieved. Even if you clear your cache or history, there are people who are experts in retrieving this information.
Well, look at all that Jeffrey Epstein shit.
Right.
They're digging shit up they thought was buried for years. Guess what? It's not.
The shooter's mother Googled, remember the kids' parents, the Crumbleys? She's like, how long was it before the Crumbly parents were
God
were charged?
It was like,
how did they find out?
Groundwork for like her own exoneration or arrest.
How did they find the Crumblies? Well, how long did it take them to find them guilty? I don't know exactly what the question was.
Where in the forest Everglades can I hide? Listen, I have
so incriminating.
I don't know if I've told this story before, but I'm just going to say it really quickly. We live in North Carolina. We moved here 14 years ago from the San Francisco Bay Area. We lived in the South Bay, in Cupertino to be exact. I am a lifelong Californian, with the exception of 6 years in Oregon, 3 years in Spain. Okay, actually, no, I'm not a lifelong Californian. 4 years in Jamaica, 5 years in South Korea. Okay, so I moved around a bit. But let's just say that the majority of the time that I have lived in the United States...
Your heart's in San Francisco.
Was in California, you know. So, moving from that South San Francisco area to rural North Carolina was a little bit of a culture shock. Yeah. And I remember we moved in December. My kids started the new year in a new school. So they had started school in a California school. Then we switched schools. And I can tell you that I was walking into school one day and there were two little boys in front of me. I was walking my kindergartner and my third grader in, and the two little boys in front of me were walking, and they were in first grade. They were so little that their backpacks were bigger than them. And one little boy says to the other, "What did you get for Christmas?" And the other little boy says, "I got a rifle."
Oh, my God.
I have come to terms with how isolated and in a bubble I lived when I moved here, and how unexposed I was to gun ownership, to hunting, to, Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and activities that involve 4-H club and all of the things that like kids do when they grow up in the country, like being, working on farms and, hunting and trapping animals and skinning them and learning how to use all the parts of an animal and deer processing and blah, 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 all that crap. But I can just tell you that at that point, I remember going home and saying to my husband, we're moving. Terrible mistake. Let's get the fuck out of here. So I can tell you that I know.
Oh my God.
I remember one of my kids playing with a kid and coming home and saying, we went upstairs and there were guns upstairs. And
now, see, how did you manage that?
I remember talking to a friend and saying, how do you navigate that? And they said, when your kids get invited to play dates, someone's house, or sleepovers, you need to ask very openly, do you have guns in the house, and are they secure? Are they under lock and key? Are they in a safe?
And you hope that they tell you the truth.
Absolutely. Because, people drink and people party and people, get stuff out.
I mean, how many stories have you heard where a kid is killed because they were playing with the guns, or they just brought it out to show their friend and then bang?
Yep. So I will say that I have become accustomed to hearing stories of parents buying their children guns for sport shooting and for duck hunting and for, squirrel hunting and for this and that.
No, but it's true. So even with the Colin Gray being on the stand, he said, that's how I grew up. My dad bought me a gun and we went deer hunting. He was so proud of when Colt shot his first deer, and it's so foreign to me, So So police found 11 guns in the Thompson home. Austin took 2 more guns from the home, a 9mm pistol and a shotgun after he killed his brother. Police also found 160 boxes of ammunition, some of which were empty according to court documents. Alan Thompson testified that he had been buying up ammunition whenever he found it due to the shortages around the time of the shooting. In 2024, he pleaded guilty to the misdemeanor charge of improperly storing a 9mm handgun on a bedside table, allowing unsafe access to a minor. So he was charged.
I just want to jump in here. During the pandemic, people bought guns like crazy. And there were news
shortages.
Stories about bullet shortages, about
besides the toilet paper, there were
gun shortages because people were worried that shit was going to go sideways and they were going to have to protect their land and their cars and their trucks and their chickens
and their toilet paper.
And their toilet paper. And I can tell you that this comment that you just said, where he goes, Alan Thompson testified that he had been buying up ammunition wherever he found it due to the shortages around the time of the shooting. He fed into that narrative that shit was going to go sideways. You had to buy up all the guns and ammo you could find because you had to protect your land and your people and your this and your that. And I have to say that came from somewhere. It wasn't like that was just something that some random dude in Raleigh, North Carolina made up.
Right.
There is, there are people out there who have large platforms and they push these narratives that, you got to stand and protect your land. You got to protect your wife and your children. You got to buy guns, and it's annoying. They buy them to kill people with.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that they don't.
I won't tell you that they don't.
Okay.
The 5 people killed in the October 13, 2022 shooting are James Thompson, his brother, 16 years old, Nicole Connors, 52, Susan Carnitz, 49, Mary Marshall, 35, and Gabriel Torres, 29. Austin Thompson, who was 15 at the time of the shooting, pleaded guilty to 5 counts of first-degree murder on January 21st, 2026, so just this year.
Just the other day.
Austin, now 18, chose to plead guilty to save the community and the victim from as much additional infliction of trauma as possible and spare them a trial. Superior Court Judge Paul Ridgway had the option to sentence him to life in prison with the chance for parole after at least 25 years. Thompson did not face the death penalty given his age at the time of the crimes. Ridgway said during the sentencing that Thompson is the rare juvenile defendant whose crime reflects irreparable corruption. The judge sentenced Austin to 5 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole and 13 to 17 years for each of the attempted murders of Lynn Gardner and Casey Clark.
Okay, but I want to know irreparable corruption. What did he mean by that?
That he's not rehabilitative.
There's no rehabilitation. But the problem is that what does he mean irreparable corruption? What was the corruption? The video games? Was it his parents?
The killing of 5 innocent people.
No. The crime reflects irreparable corruption. So he was corrupted by something that reflects in the crime he committed of killing people. What was the corruption? Did it come out that he was obsessed with video games? Did it come out that his father beat him? Did he already hated his mother? What's the thing? Because I got to tell you, how long before the parents are now going to be on trial?
No, just hold on. Hold on to your butts.
Okay.
Austin's parents and family members of the victims addressed the court during the sentencing, often breaking down in tears as they recounted what happened.
I did see that.
Lynn Gardner survived the attack and was able to describe the shooter as a young man in camouflage. She said that as Austin stood over her, she cried out and asked why he was doing that to them. Nicole Connor's husband, Tracy Howard, spoke on the stand during the hearing about how his wife's death has affected his psyche. He said it was hard to grant Austin any forgiveness. During his impact statement, he said he had planned to say a lot of things but just couldn't express them. Completely grief-stricken and at several times pausing to control his emotions, he told the judge he no longer enjoys doing anything without his wife. When the judge read the ruling of the 5 consecutive life sentences, Tracy pumped his fist in the courtroom. It was really sad. You watched it, you said, and he just he seemed so exhausted and so he was like, I had so many things I planned to say and I just can't say any of them, because he would just start crying, Awful. Jasmine Torres, wife of Officer Gabriel Torres, tearfully recounted the day her husband was killed. She told the courtroom that she had left home to pick up their 2-year-old daughter from daycare while her husband got ready to work an overnight shift. On her way back home, she said she called her husband to see whether he had already left, and during the call, she could hear gunshots. Her husband told her he was going to check it out and hung up the phone. When Jasmine got home, she saw 2 bullet holes in the windshield of her husband's vehicle. Mary Marshall's fiancé, Rob Steele, said justice was served today after Austin was sentenced. Steele didn't speak during the sentencing process, but told WRAL News that they sent the judge a victim impact statement electronically. He said he did not want to speak to Austin Thompson. Tom Carnett, Susan's husband, told the court that he and his wife were supposed to go out to dinner, but that she never returned home from her run. When he checked her location, he saw that she was in the neighborhood where the shooting happened. He said he knew his wife was a victim when a detective asked him to describe the clothing she had on. Austin never spoke during the hearing. Because he was under 18 when the crimes took place, he couldn't face the death penalty under North Carolina law. Austin's defense attorney tried to infer that Austin's new acne medication may have contributed to his actions that day. It was something they brought up.
Accutane?
I don't know what it was.
Accutane does cause suicide ideations, I've heard, and depression, so I don't know.
Austin's father, Alan, said he introduced his sons to hunting when James was 13 and Austin was 12. He added that when they were around 8 and 9, he got them a BB gun, just like I had growing up, just like what we said. That's the lifestyle, in certain parts of the country.
But
and
the
it's so
dad,
foreign to
Alan,
me.
didn't have Call of Duty and a gaming set and virtual reality VR headset and play games where he's running across the tundra shooting the fucking shit out of people.
So are you blaming it on the games?
No.
I think if your child clearly has mental health issues, you A, should not have guns in the house at all, or B, you better make sure they are locked up. But again, just like with certain things in life, you can't guarantee that it's never going to come to, that you're going to forget to lock it.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You cannot 1,000%
right.
say that you are going to there's never going to be a risk of a kid getting it.
It's true.
So you either have to not have it in the house or, I don't know what but if I think if your child has mental health issues, clearly have, Colt Gray, and he had Googled how to kill your father. Then the father buys a gun for him. Okay, enough said. So Alan says they would shoot plastic and paper targets. Alan said when they were old enough to go hunting, they would go target practicing and learn gun safety, adding, like my daddy did with me. I raised my sons the same way my daddy raised me, safety and target practice to be safe around a firearm. Austin's mother and father say they are overcome with grief and saw no warning signs before the killings. Now, I'm not a parent, but I have to question the validity of that statement. Austin Thompson is expected to appeal his sentence, of course. You plead guilty and then you're going to appeal your sentence. I just don't get it. His appeal will be heard by the North Carolina.
I feel like the appeal process is just customary.
Yeah, but it's such a waste of time. If it's like, it's like
Yeah.
Andrea Yates. She's like, I don't want to come up for parole. I'm not going to my parole hearing because this is where I belong.
It's like a waste of resources.
Yeah.
It's like, why even provide that option? I feel like the judge needs to decide you are not eligible for parole. You're not eligible for appeal. You're not eligible to cause the taxpayer to pay a single penny for anything.
And let me remind you that you pleaded guilty. His appeal will be heard by the North Carolina Court of Appeals and could take years to conclude. This isn't the thing. There's all these cases and trials that need to happen out there, and then you've got someone who pleaded guilty, has 5 consecutive life sentences. Why are we spending time on appeals? You know? There were no warning signs that Austin would do what he did.
I don't believe that.
That's what I said.
I don't believe that for a second.
That's what his parents and defense attorney said.
I don't believe that.
No visible friction between the brothers.
I don't believe that either.
Nor anything to suggest that one of their sons was contemplating a mass killing. But Assistant District Attorney Patrick Latour argued that Austin had been quietly planning the killing spree for years.
He had camo on.
Search by internet search.
He had camo on. And you know he had to have gone and changed his clothes after he stabbed his brother 57 times because he was probably covered in blood.
I know. Victims of the mass shooting and their families filed a civil lawsuit against Austin's parents and the Hedingham HOA. In court documents, they say that there were warning signs that the parents, as well as Hedingham security guards, should have noticed. A trial date is set for July 6th of 2026. I agree. I'm sorry, but you know if your child has mental health issues. And then he's like, I like my father, but I don't like my mother. I mean, there had to have been warning signs. That's all. You just can't have guns in the house if you have people in the house that have mental illness. Because even if you say, I'm going to keep the guns secure, I swear to God, unless you can say that 1,000% that it's never going to be accessible to the person that has
it's just like the people who had the Playboy channel and they would say, well, the kids can't see what's on TV, and then all the kids in the neighborhood knew who had the Playboy channel would go over to their house so they could see boobs. It's true. And so I just did a really quick search while you were talking about this. Overall, nearly 98% of mass shooters are male. 98%.
Oh, yeah.
And then the other thing is, I looked up some mass shooter demographics. White Americans commit 53% of mass shootings, followed by Black Americans at 21%, Latinos at 9%, and Asians at 7%. And then 97.7 and 98% of mass shooters are male. So what I said earlier about it being like a pandemic of white men, I wasn't like talking out my ass.
No,
for the first time ever. I didn't make that shit up. It turns out it's right. And also,
just from
7% of mass shooters are Asian girl. I just want you to know, I don't think I've ever, aside from that one guy, remember that one University of Virginia or whatever, that one South Korean guy, I don't think I know of any Asian mass shooters.
Yeah, I mean, what we see in the news is usually young white men.
Yeah. Different data sets, such as those from Mother Jones or the Violence Project, may have slightly different percentages based on their specific criteria, but they consistently show white men as the most common demographic for public indiscriminate mass shootings. So, the data doesn't lie. I had to tell you, this makes me sick to my stomach because I work near one of these Greenbelt, I know,
just imagine you're
areas.
Just doing your thing.
Yeah,
and
when my kids were little, we lived in Davis, California, which is a college town, has amazing cycling and jogging trails. My kids, we used to take them cycling and biking, in like the little carriage, but also with their little bikes all the time on the Greenbelt. It just... Imagine going out for a run after a long day of work or taking your dog out for exercise or to go to the bathroom. You're just enjoying, like, you're done with work. It's the end of the work day. You're breathing a sigh of relief. And that's it. Like that woman's saying, why are you doing this?
Yeah. It's very sad. Yeah, she was on the stand and she
So
described
awful.
how her neighbor, Nicole, they would walk their dogs like 3 times a day together. And,
So awful.
Yeah.
I have to say, though, please, for those of you who are listening to this and have not been to the beautiful state of North Carolina, don't let it deter your interest and desire to come and see what we have to offer. This is a beautiful state.
It is.
We have 4 distinctive seasons.
I have yet to experience spring. So I'm very excited.
Yes. Just wait until she sees the pine pollen. Yikes. But guys, even with this horrible, horrible, horrible story on board, if you have not been to the beautiful state of North Carolina, it is a crime. But you know what else is a crime?
What's that, Joy?
That we are out of time.
That is a crime. Well, thank you for listening, everyone, and don't complicate your day. All creativity, commentary, and opinions in this podcast belong to Cheryl and Joy. Music composed and mixed by Gabe McKeon. Logo and merch managed by Cheryl Yamaguchi. Podcast editing, advertising, and social media managed by Joy McKeon. Legal representation provided by John Bojezic. Please like, subscribe, follow, and listen. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Audible.com, Amazon Music, YouTube, and iHeartRadio. And remember, you can find us on Instagram and TikTok, or you can email us at murderandeverythingelse@gmail.com.
Bye, fishes.